Unstoppable by Cynthia Kersey. 45 powerful stories of perseverance and triumph from people just like you. Unstoppable. Road warriors of a different kind. The Father, the Son, and the fighting spirit. It's impossible. A quadriplegic in a wheelchair competing in marathons, triathlons, and even in the famously grueling Ironman race. It's impossible, and yet here he comes again across the finish line, ahead of half the others in the race, with that radiant smile spectators have come to expect and love. Rick Hoyt has crossed over 631 of those finish lines in the last 20 years, often in the top 50%, sometimes even as the winner. But he never crosses alone. Sometimes in front of him, sometimes behind him, is the other half of the Hoyt team, his father, Dick. People say what Dick does is impossible too. A middle-aged man jogging mile after mile, pushing another man in a wheelchair. Pedaling Rick on a bicycle up and down unforgiving hills. Pulling Rick 2 miles or more through the water as he swims. But the Hoyt family has made a habit of doing the impossible. When Rick was born in 1962, the doctors told his parents, Dick and Judy, that their newborn son would bring them nothing but heartache and urged them to put him in an institution. As a spastic quadriplegic with cerebral palsy, Rick would live out his life as a vegetable. That's what the doctors said. Never, the doctors warned, could their son be mainstreamed into society. The Holts ignored the experts' advice and brought their son to their home in North Reading, Massachusetts. Dick and Judy were determined to raise him just like they would any other child. Back then, experts didn't know a lot about cerebral palsy and weren't sure of the full extent of Rick's disability. Learning to live with a child with severe disabilities was considered beyond the capabilities of almost any parent. But the Hoyts weren't typical parents. They set out to prove that disabilities are merely challenges meant to be overcome, not impassable barriers. Rick's only way to communicate was by nodding his head yes or shaking it no. Speech professionals said he would never be able to speak. The Hoyts believed otherwise and raised $5,000 that they donated to Tufts University to help build the first interactive communicator. The device allowed a speechless person to talk by scrolling electronically through rows of letters and numbers and making selections to form complete messages. When Rick was 12, the communicator was finally ready for testing. The engineers from Tufts and the entire Hoyt family excitedly stood around Rick, waiting for his first words. Rick used his head to touch an electronic switch, spelling out, "Go Bruins." We all laughed, said Dick, because he confirmed that what we had believed all along. Rick had a healthy, active mind and a sense of humor. Because of Rick's revealed interest in sports, the entire family took him fishing, canoeing, and even rock climbing, strapping him to his father's back. The family witnessed Rick's sense of adventure and challenge and saw a person with a normal mind, human needs, and hopes who longed to be respected. The interactive communicator played a key role in enabling Rick to express himself and his interests and revealed his curious, intelligent personality. Yet schools refused to enroll Rick since he could not walk, feed himself, or talk on his own. At 14, because of his increasing ability to speak through his communicator and a new law mandating the right of all children to attend school, Rick finally gained admittance to high school, where special aids helped him with physical tasks he was unable to handle himself. It was during this remarkable period of personal growth that Rick found the catalyst for his incredible athletic career. In 1977, when Rick was 16, he learned of a 5-mile road race that would be held to benefit a college student who was injured in an automobile accident. Using his communicator, Rick told his dad that he wanted to run in the race as his contribution. Dick's initial reaction was shock. "I thought I'm 40. A guy who jogs a couple of days a week to keep my weight down, but hardly a seasoned runner." I was concerned about how I could participate in such a race, pushing Rick in his wheelchair. But I knew it meant a lot to him, so I said, "Okay, we'll try it." After the race, Dick could hardly move for 2 weeks. He was in agony, but one night, as he soaked his aching muscles in Epsom salt, Rick came home and typed a message that changed Dick's life forever. "Dad, when I'm running, it feels like I'm not handicapped anymore." Finally, Rick had found something that gave him freedom like nothing else. At that point, Dick knew what he had to do. If Rick wanted to become an athlete and compete, Dick would loan him his arms and legs to make it happen. But to do so, Dick needed to design a lighter running chair so he wouldn't kill himself in the process. Over the next 2 years, while Dick and an engineer designed and built the special chair, Rick and his father continued training and racing locally using the old chair. When the new chair was ready in September 1979, father and son entered their first official race, a 5-mile race in Springfield, Massachusetts. They finished 150th out of 300 runners. They ran races in different cities every week. One of those races was the world famous Boston Marathon, a grueling 26.2 miles. Rick and his father applied in the wheelchair division, where paraplegics had been racing on their own for years. But Rick, a quadriplegic who required a racing partner, was turned down. The Holts joined the race anyway, lining up behind the wheelchairs. Neither the sponsors nor the organizing committee would acknowledge their presence, but the spectators along the city streets did, and they applauded and cheered them on. When the Holts finished, the crowd was jubilant. Out of 7,400 runners, the Holts finished in the top 90%. This race was the first of many Boston marathons they would enter and finish. During these years, Rick also proved himself to be much more than just an unusual athlete. He earned a degree in special education from Boston University, becoming the first non-speaking quadriplegic to graduate from college. By 1984, Dick had become an accomplished runner and was invited to race in triathlons. Triathlons are the Herculean races that combine long-distance swimming, long-distance bicycling, and cross-country running. The organizers wanted Dick, but only if he would compete alone. He refused. The next year, the organizers made the same offer, but again, Dick refused to participate without his son. Dick told the organizers, "Rick was the one that got me into this. I have no desire to compete alone. He is the one that drives me. Besides, without Rick, I wouldn't even know what to do with my arms." Finally, the race officials approved Rick's participation if Dick could devise safe, durable equipment that would enable both of them to compete. Never mind that Dick didn't even know how to swim and hadn't been on a bicycle since he was 6 years old. After what his son had already accomplished, those seemed like small details to overcome. And Dick started training and devising the equipment that would help him tow Rick through water and pedal him by bicycle. The bicycle weighed 60 pounds, Rick weighed 90, and Dick weighed 170. That would be 320 pounds moving up and down hills, pushing relentlessly across agonizing physical and mental barriers. Rick and Dick completed the triathlon and every subsequent triathlon they entered, usually finishing in the top half of the competition. Along the way, Dick developed a motto: "There is nothing we cannot do together." Dick was right. Together, father and son completed the infamous Ironman competition, a race most people are happy just to survive. 2.4 miles of swimming, 112 miles on a bike, and 26.2 miles of running. Because of the extreme conditions of the Ironman race located on the Big island of Hawaii, 100-degree heat, high humidity, and unrelenting hills, this race required special preparation. To train, they competed in local races every weekend for a year. During the week while Rick was in school, Dick trained alone daily. He swam up to 2 miles, ran 8 miles, and biked 35 to 40 miles while pushing a 100-pound bag of cement in Rick's running and biking chair. Dick and his son have since competed in and finished 4 Ironman competitions. They have also biked and run across the United States from Los Angeles to Boston, covering 3,735 miles in 45 days without a single day off. And after completing 15 Boston marathons, the race where they were initially rejected back in 1981, they were honored on the marathon's 100th anniversary as the event centennial hero. Dick still insists it's his son, not him, who is the athlete. I don't know what it is, but when I get behind his cheer, there's something that happens. Rick is the driving force of the team. I loan him my body, but it's Rick's spirit that keeps us going. Rick and Dick Hoyt have been competing for 20 years and say there's no end in sight. What place they finish is not all that important. From the moment they took the starting line, every race has been a victory. For as long as I can remember, people said I would never be able to do anything. My parents and I believed I could, and we've been proving them wrong ever since. Rick Hoyt.
45 powerful stories of perseverance and triumph from people just like you. Unstoppable by Cynthia Kersey. Turnpike Plaza 365.